Hey everyone! If you're like me, those perimenopause symptoms are driving you crazy. Well, I've got a little help for you. All you need to do is go to my midlifewithcourage.com website, and a little box is going to pop up that's going to ask you if you'd like to get my free ebook called Balancing Your Hormones. It's a short little guide with tips that you can use throughout the day, super easy, to help you balance out those hormones through the things that you do. So check it out, midlifewithcourage.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Seize your power in your voice and never let go of your voice. I think that is the strongest power we have to express ourselves, to say no, to defend ourselves, and use your voice and just know that you can survive anything.
You're listening to the Midlife with Courage podcast. This is where women in midlife come each week for inspiration, motivation, and sometimes a little education to help them flourish after 40. If you want to make sure not to miss an episode, make sure you hit that follow button so that you don't miss a thing. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Midlife with Courage. I'm Kim Benoit, your host, and I'm so happy to have you here. I'm also so happy to have my guest here with me today. Her name is Brenda Coffee. Welcome to the podcast, Brenda.
Thank you, Kim.
Brenda, I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into your story. I'm really excited to talk to you about this.
Oh gosh, the pressure's on. Let's see. I have a BA in journalism and film and photography, and I've worked as a journalist and a filmmaker. I dabbled in the business world for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I couldn't find the answer to a lot of my questions. So I started what turned out to be the top breast cancer blog. And it was just so rewarding. And I loved all the women I met. Previously, I'd been pretty much in a male-oriented group. And I had a couple of great girlfriends, my best girlfriend since high school. But the breast cancer blog just opened up just this fabulous world of women. And at some point, I got to where I couldn't write about cancer anymore. I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided I wanted to keep this group and talk about other things. So I started what's become one of the top blogs for women over 50.
Oh,
So,
wonderful. That's
yeah.
amazing. We will talk about that too. But before we do that, first let me just ask you my question. When was a time in your life that you felt courageous or showed courage?
Well, you've read my book, so you know there's been times, but I think I've been surviving something since the day I was born, 6 weeks premature and an Rh negative baby. And I had to have a complete blood transfusion, and they didn't think I would live. But I, I think the most courageous I had to be was when I was 12 or 13. My father died, and my mother just totally fell apart. She stayed in her room with the shades pulled, and she was on Valium, and we literally role reversed.
Mm-hmm.
I would ride my bicycle to the grocery store and fill the basket up with food. And there were days when I would go back and forth because I couldn't put everything in my little wire basket.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to be the mom at that age when all of your friends are having fun,
Mm-hmm.
there was pressure on to make good grades when my dad was alive, but I lived the life of a kid and I didn't know anybody else who was parenting their parents. So I, I think at that age, the only way that I could get through that was to kind of pretend that I wasn't afraid of anything or anybody. And so that kind of got me through that. But that served me well for the rest of my life, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense after reading the book and reading about all your experiences that you've been through. But that would be really tough at 13. Like you said, you're teenaging, teenaging. That should be a new word, teenaging.
I
Um,
like it.
All the, the hormonal things are going on and the friends and all that, and then you have to be your mom's mom. And yeah, that would be really tough.
Yeah, I started my first period the morning of my father's funeral, and
Mm.
there was nobody I felt like I could ask. And so I stuffed a whole box of Kleenexes and
Oh,
washcloth in my underwear. I thought I was dying.
oh
And it
my
was
gosh.
only like a couple of days later that when I told my middle school girlfriends, and they told me
Hmm. They
what was.
did. Oh. Oh my goodness. Such a rough time. So when the book starts, you were a businesswoman. How did you go from taking care of your mom to being this businesswoman and you were a journalist? And how did you get there? Tell us your story.
Went to Trinity University and got a partial scholarship and was living at home with mother. And then I decided that this wasn't going to work. And so I gave up my scholarship and I got a full-time job and went to school at night at a junior college. But the job that I took was with a relatively new public company here in town called Data Point Corporation. And I was the fourth person in accounting, and I was in charge of accounts payable. And I was there for a year before I had a conversation with the president and founder of the company. And we happened to meet after work. I had gone with a girlfriend who worked there. We'd gone someplace for a glass of wine, and he showed up. And we wound up talking all night and didn't realize the place had closed. And he walked me to my car and he said he was newly divorced and I was 21 and he was 33 in the
Mm.
darling Wall Street. And he just looked at me and said, I won't date employees. And so the next day I handed in my resignation.
Oh my gosh.
I did. And 2 weeks later, we were living together, and that changed my life, Kim, because I was a part of everything that he did in the business community and helped him start his second public company. So I, it was like on the job, on the wife, if you will, training every single day for 17 years.
Wow. And well, that relationship, I love how you treat him. I could tell how much you loved him through the book. He had issues, and you talk about those in the book. And I don't know what you want to share with us today about that, but you did help him help this company and weren't given credit for it in a way. Is that not the right way to say it?
That's okay. I didn't mind. He accidentally went cold turkey on Valium,
Hmm.
and he had started another company, and we moved to Silicon Valley. He was the inventor, by the way, I should probably tell
Yeah.
everybody, of the first personal computer and the microprocessor. And so he had started another company to work on a more advanced, different kind of computer memory. And he took Valium only to go to sleep at night. He was so brilliant, his brain just didn't want to shut down by itself. And we'd been in California for a week, and wasn't taking his Valium to go to sleep. And then one day he just started having seizures.
Mm-hmm.
We'd been there a week, and he wound up in a straitjacket in a local facility near Silicon Valley. And that changed both of our lives. I secretly began running that company in California. He didn't have a mental problem, it was a drug reaction. And I did a lot of research and I learned that those seizures were the step right before death.
Hmm.
And that night, when they checked him in, they gave him an IV injection of Valium. and he went to sleep, and the next morning he was perfectly fine,
Oh, sure.
needing to be released. And that's when I thought, this has something to do with the Valium. But it changed the way I now know this because I've done so much research. It changed the way the synapses in his brain fired. And so he was not the same. I think he couldn't accept that it was the Valium because the doctors hadn't said that.
Mm-hmm.
They just said, well, we don't know. And they
Oh,
filled his Valium prescription.
sure.
But but he was just, he kind of sat in the dark and for 6 months and didn't have much of a conversation with even me.
Mm.
But there was this company that needed to be run. Eventually, we came back to San Antonio, and he had a lot of opportunities to start another company. But he told me one day, he said, I'm just not ready. And why don't we just play and have fun? And so we started doing really adventurous things. He used to race cars, and he was a spy for the National Security Agency. He was a scuba diver. He was gorgeous. He was magnetic. He wasn't one of those, oh, let me tell you about this kind of guy. He was low key, but he had this magnetism and charisma. And so we started searching for arrowheads after rains because this is arrowhead country.
Mm-hmm.
Then we would go scuba diving in the Yucatan. And along the way, we kind of stumbled across some Mayan ruins that had not been excavated. And so then I started researching Mayan ruins, unexcavated ones. And we started going to the Yucatan and hacking our way through three canopy jungles. We lived, as I say in the book, we lived an Indiana Jones life before there was an Indiana Jones.
Yeah, yeah.
But it got to where that wasn't a challenge for him. It was fun,
Mm-hmm.
adventurous, and somehow he told me that what he wanted was a one-man project, that he didn't have to babysit, temperamental engineers, these brilliant guys, Elon Musk, and or investors that called every day and wanted to know how the company and their money was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the readers will have to figure this one out, but along the way, he got the idea to see if he could make cocaine from scratch. And I should have known that he would do it because everything he attempted, he succeeded at.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he became addicted.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it once and hated it. It made my heart feel like it was just going to fly out of my chest. And I was this side of going to the emergency room.
Oh, man.
So I was like, I don't think so.
Not for me.
He was downstairs working on another project at the time, which was the smokeless cigarette. He was the first person to invent the vape, and I coined the
Yeah.
term vaping. And so he just said, well, this is good for me. A real organic synthesis chemist would say my methods are sloppy, and this is a good thing for me to focus on to kind of decompress as I think about next steps for the smokeless cigarette. And I thought, okay. And I didn't realize that he was down there using what he was producing. Wasn't very much, but
Mm-hmm.
and then he started drinking alcohol to bring himself down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to say that was my biggest problem going on at the time, but it wasn't.
Wow. Hi, everyone. Kim here. I just wanted to remind you that I have a brand new product on my online shop at midlifewithcourage.com. They are beautiful affirmation cards just for you. These are a product that I created. I'm very proud of them. They're called your Daily Dose of Courage. Each day you take a card and you can go in order. They are numbered 1 through 31 for each day of the month, or you can just take them out at random. Use them just to give yourself a little positive message. Maybe you want to use them as a journaling prompt. You can even use them in the evenings before you go to bed as a way of just having a little positive, courageous message to read before you go to sleep at night. So go to midlifewithcourage.com and go on the online shop. The link is right there on the first page, and grab your copy of your Daily Dose of Courage affirmation cards. I mean, but I know someone's in the throes of addiction. There's nothing you can do for them. They just have to come to it themselves.
No, you hear that, oh, they have to hit bottom.
Hmm.
That's true. The whatever it is, whether it's gambling or alcohol or substance abuse, I think it totally takes over their brain
Hmm.
and they can't hear anything. It becomes their everything.
Yeah,
And no, I tried. I tried.
yeah. It's not a wonderful thing to go through at all. It's horrible. But eventually, can we talk about the vape cigarette again? I didn't realize that you coined the term vape and vaping until I read it in the book.
I
But
did. No one was using it at the time.
yeah.
His smokeless cigarette looked exactly like a real cigarette. It was the same weight, same size. You inhaled on it, and nicotine vaporizes all by itself. So it doesn't need, like the e-cigs now, it doesn't need batteries and all that nonsense. And by the way, e-cigs are not good for you. They've got, like cigarettes have 2,000 byproducts of burning,
Oh,
and all of those are carcinogens. Well, the e-cigs are pretty much the same because they're being heated.
sure.
And so that's not the solution. But so it was obvious to me at the time that we weren't smoking because there was no smoke. It was just vapor and nothing came out when you blew out,
Hmm.
exhale.
Hmm.
And it was a natural to call it vape and vaping instead of smoking. And together we co-wrote the business plan for his second public company, Advanced Tobacco Products. And along the way, everybody, especially our attorneys, were saying the government's not going to let you get away with this, and neither will the big six, because
Yeah.
our smokeless cigarette fell through the cracks of the legal definition of a cigarette. And so the feds couldn't tax us. And the
Uh,
tax on alcohol, tobacco, and firearms is the government's second largest revenue source. Our income tax is their first, so they couldn't let us succeed.
of course not.
Turned out they were in bed together with the big six tobacco companies because it was at a time when smoking was being banned all over the world,
Hmm.
and cigarettes were getting a bad rap, as they should.
Hmm.
Our vice president of marketing was the former president of RJ Reynolds International. And I was keeping a vape diary. That's what I called a vape journal. And he would call me periodically with tidbits.
Hmm.
He said, here's one for your diary. And one of them was that he'd heard through the grapevine that they wanted to do away with us.
Oh my gosh.
And I opened the book on page one with when this big burly weightlifter type guy vaults over our fence, our gate at the foot of the hill, and knocks on the door. And the first thing's out of his mouth. He didn't say, "Hi, my name is," or anything like that. He just said, "I have it on good authority that whoever lives here needs a bodyguard, and they better watch their step." And of course, since role reversing with mother, I've pretended not to be afraid of anything or anybody.
Hmm.
And it served me well because now that's part of my internal core.
Yeah.
And so I just looked at him and said, I'm afraid you have the wrong house. And I closed the door in his face.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we took it seriously, and the company's SEC attorneys took it seriously, and they hired the sniper on the San Antonio SWAT squad as our bodyguard.
Wow. So this is a real deal. They are really after you.
Yes, they are. And I encountered them one night. Phillips, this is in the book, Phillips passed out in bed, and I heard voices outside. And I was still awake at, and like 2 o'clock or something in the morning. And there was a gap between the bottom of our bedroom door and the floor. And a few minutes later, after I heard voices, I could see the shadows. I'd left a light on in the living room, and I could see their shadows in that gap under the door.
Wow.
And the sniper wasn't there that night.
Oh.
And so I got a shotgun, and I was naked and barefoot, and I went to the door, and I chambered around in the shotgun, which, if you've ever heard that, it's an unmistakable sound.
Mm-hmm.
Counted to three and flung open the door, prepared to shoot them before they shot me. And they were running down the hallway to get out of the house.
Wow. I can't imagine the thought of someone being in my house, first of all, at night, and your husband's out, it's you. That just terrifies me. But you had the guts to get up and grab that gun and
It's a survival instinct, Kim.
yeah.
We've all got that. We don't know until we're faced with something like that. When I was a kid, I used to watch all of these old black and white movies from the 50s on TV, and there would be like the ones with the monster,
Mm.
and he's like, whether it's Frankenstein or whoever, and he's lumbering toward the heroine, and she's panicked, and she's just standing there screaming, and she's got her hands like they're super glued to either side of her face, and she's just rooted in place, and we're screaming, "Run, girl!"
Yeah.
But she doesn't do that. And I just, everybody needs to know that instinct, whether it's, I don't think I should walk down this street, or whatever it is. I believe in instinct. We've all got it. And we've certainly all got the survival skills. We just need to put them into play.
Hmm. Yeah.
And if something happens, don't stand there panicked and frozen and waiting to see what happens next, because you know what's going to happen next, or you wouldn't be standing there screaming.
Right, right. Yeah, that fight, flight, or freeze. The freeze, don't do the freeze. It's not,
Absolutely.
it's not good. Nothing good happens. And so that is not the only time that you've ever had to be courageous. There's so many, and I don't want to give away the whole book, but there's so many experiences that you had. After Philip passed away, you were left with a lot of debt and you wanted to keep your house. And I love the story about going to the bank and trying to renegotiate the loan, and the guy kept putting you off. And then you finally figured out he's going to try and take my house. And
It was the savings and loan companies, and there was articles in the newspaper every day, and stories on, like this evening New York news, ABC, NBC. It was a thing that was happening then. And the savings and loan companies around the country, some of these huge conglomerates, were defaulting on people's loans. They were setting it up to where you would lose your house and they would take it. And so this nameless, faceless corporation in Houston was trying to do that to me.
Mm.
And Philip had left me with millions of dollars in debt and income tax that I owed, and his mother needed to be taken care of. And here I've not got very much money and I'm not sure what to do. And I made a decision that I can't let these, I call them scumbags. That's
That's
my
a
nice,
nice word.
that's my nice term for them. I can't let them take my house.
Yeah.
And so I owed $72,000 on the house, which at the time was an enormous amount of money. And I sold everything I could get my hands on
Mm.
and had a cashier's check made out to the savings and loan. And I drove to Houston, like a 3.5 hour drive one morning. And I didn't tell the loan guy that I was coming.
Mhm.
And I paid off my note.
Yes.
Yes.
I wish I could have seen his face when you did that.
He was, it was this giant glass and steel building, and the receptionist on the first floor in the lobby, I told her I was here to see whatever his name was. And she said, "Do you have an appointment?" And to myself, I'm thinking, no, but if he has a half a brain, he shouldn't be surprised to see me standing here. Called him, and he came down, and I watched him get off the elevator. I assumed that was him. And he went over to her desk, and then I could tell they were talking about me. And when he looked over at me sitting there, his face just lost all color, Kim.
Did you just feel so vindicated?
It was a sweet, sweet moment. It was. And, you know, I went outside and I got into my car and I started crying, but it was more for the Brenda who had given in to a lot of what Philip wanted, because I was reclaiming my power. And that's one of the messages of the book Maya Blue is your voice is the most powerful thing you have. And with it, we can survive almost anything. So never, ever, ever, I don't care for who or for what, give up your voice. And the color Maya Blue, there's a reason I named the book Maya Blue. It's a real color.
Hmm.
And the Maya used it to paint their pyramids in the jungle of the Yucatan in Central America. And they also paint the bodies of their sacrificial victims this color, most of whom were women.
Mm.
But art historians say that Maya blue is the strongest, most resilient pigment known to man.
Mm.
And it's weathered thousands of years and it's still there. And there is a part in the book that I went to Central America after Philip died. I sold things out of my house to go, but
Mhm.
I needed to get away. I needed to focus on me.
Mhm.
And since I liked Maya ruins, I wound up going to see Tikal in Guatemala.
Mhm.
And let's just say I was on the wrong road at the wrong time.
Yes,
And
you were.
cab driver and I were forced out of the car at gunpoint and forced into the jungle. And their plans for me were not good. But I saw that color, Maya blue, in the jungle because there was a temple there, a pyramid, and it had not been excavated. And so there were these monstrous trees that had just grown into the temple, and a lot of the stones and the hieroglyphics had just, been popped off,
Mhm.
forced off by the pressure of these growing trees. And so they were littered on the ground all around me, and I saw that color.
Mhm.
I didn't know at the time that that was Maya Blue,
Mhm.
but that was another example of I didn't stand there and scream.
No, you did not. Yeah.
I seized an opportunity.
Yeah.
They were going to rape me, gang rape me, and kill me. Obviously, I got away.
Yes, you did. And we don't want to give the book away too much, but that was another point where I'm like, you go, girl. Yeah. You know, when you read something, you kind of, I do anyway, like put myself in that position with you. And it was terrifying. And you must have had trauma from that for years, and maybe still do.
I did, and I fortunately got some therapy,
Mm-hmm.
lots of it, and then I still do guided imagery,
Mm-hmm.
which essentially is self-hypnosis. And that's guided imagery is just magic because it allows you to get still and calm and focus on your breathing and just put everything else out of your mind. And it's really good for centering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I I also listen to the Calm app. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I've heard of that. I'm kind of
I
interested in that.
love it. And she's got 10 minutes every day of she calls the daily calm.
Mm-hmm.
I'll either do it at my desk or when I get off the treadmill, I'll just lay down on the floor and listen to that. And that's something else that's what it does is it builds these skills of being able to just in the moment call upon your strength and go within and not panic.
Mm-hmm.
But lasting effects from that, from the jungle, I will say my second husband had a piece of land in the Texas Hill Country.
Mm-hmm.
He was clearing brush one day, and I've always been adventurous, and I had my hiking boots on, and I said, okay, I'm going to go explore.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in this thicket of brush that reminded me of the jungle.
Oh.
And I could not get out of there fast enough.
Mm.
The other thing that is still with me is when I go up and down stairs, I'm a little, mm, I don't want to say freaked out, but um, the day after I escaped, the reason I went was to see Tikal. And so I said, I'm going to go to Tikal,
Wow.
or this trip would have been for nothing.
Yeah.
But I freaked out and panicked big time at Tikal.
Mm-hmm.
But I forced myself to climb up part of the pyramid until I just felt so exposed up there and terrified. But I don't know if you've ever climbed a Mayan ruin, but the stairs are really tall, but then they're very narrow. They must
Uh,
have had tiny feet and really strong thighs. But I've got like a size 9.5 foot. And so the back of my foot hangs off the edge of
oh.
those steps. And some that I have, like I have stairs in my house that are not wide enough, as wide as I would like them.
Mm-hmm.
My little gym is upstairs. So every day I go up these stairs.
Oh
And every
no.
day I am reminded of that day.
Uh,
So yeah, I still have things that bother me.
yeah.
But
Oh.
for the most part, I'm here, I'm strong. I'm so grateful, grateful, grateful to be here.
Yeah. Brenda, we could talk for hours about the things that you've been through and the things that you've done, but I love towards the end of the book, you say you realize that surviving life's storms is often more important than the storms themselves. And when they're over, we need to get up and regroup the best way we know how and continue to charge at life again and again. Anything less isn't living. That's just so powerful. I mean,
That's that's kind of why I went to Tikal the next day.
yeah.
I wasn't going to fold inward like my mother did after
Mm-mm,
my dad died. I mean, she was a powerful role model for me, for somebody that I didn't want to become. I wanted to be in charge of my life. And yes, I had been through something that was hellacious, and I now know that the United Nations had said that the group that took me in Guatemala was at the time was responsible for, this is incredible, almost 200,000 murders in Guatemala and 45,000 what they call los desaparecidos, or the disappeared. And
wow.
a lot of those were people from other countries. It was estimated that 3,000 Americans were on that list.
Wow.
So, yeah, I have been through some storms that should have taken me down.
Mhm.
They changed me profoundly, but I'm not going to give in.
Mm-mm. No, I can tell that. Was it hard to write the book and go back and kind of relive those? Not, would you say reliving those situations or just describing them again?
Actually, that's a great question, Kim. COVID, it was during COVID, and our all of our schedules and our lives changed. And
Hmm.
I had thought about writing a book for a long time, but these were really things that I didn't think I'd ever share with anyone. And so one day during COVID, I sat down and I just thought, I started with when he had me on the ground in the jungle with my clothes off.
Hmm.
And I thought, if I can write this, I can write anything. But do you know that that just poured out of me because I had never really told anybody about it. My close friends when I got home,
Hmm.
the therapist, and then my second husband, James Coffee. But other than that, I that was not something that I mentioned to people. And so I think it was therapeutic
Mm.
because I could see it so clearly. I could hear the howler monkeys and I could hear all the sounds in the jungle, and I could smell the cigarettes and the onions on his breath.
Mm.
But it was when I went back and started writing about my first husband, Philip, that I worshiped like a god. That's when it was hard because these were things that the world didn't know. And I felt like maybe I shouldn't be telling this. I felt disloyal.
Mm.
That was really hard. I struggled. I struggled. I struggled.
I bet. Yeah. Well, how'd you get to the point where you said it's okay if I do this?
Well, as another great question. You're very perceptive, Kim. As I'm writing, then I'm reminded of the son of a bitch that he became when he was a drug addict.
Yeah.
And I got angry all over again.
Mm.
And I just, the things that he tried to do to me and the things that his addiction made him do, and that he left me with virtually nothing except that piece of property. And at the time, I couldn't sell it. And as we talked about, the savings and loan company was trying to take it away from me.
Mhm.
But so as I'm writing, I'm getting really ticked off. And I think that that helped me keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I truly believe when we're meant to do something, it will happen. And maybe your mind was telling you, well, I'm not quite sure. And your body's like, nope, do it, do it, do it.
Well, these are things that I've sat on for decades. I didn't
Yeah.
think I could tell anyone.
Yeah.
And now that it's out there, I'm I'm stunned. It's been out in the world for just a little over a week, and it's been nominated for one of the most prestigious literary awards in America.
Wow.
Maria Shriver has added it to her 2025 best summer reading list.
Mm. It is a very good book. Listeners, I told Brenda that I read it in a day. I didn't want to put it down. It's very, very good.
That's that's the one thing that I hear from everybody.
Mhm.
The reviewers on online or people that text me or email me or leave me messages on Instagram.
Mhm.
While we've been talking, I just saw, let me pull it up. A friend of mine texted me a few minutes ago. She's got a picture of her husband. They're on an airplane, and she said, Billy snatched Maya Blue from me this morning and won't let go.
There you go. There you have it. Very good. Very good. So if the listeners want to get the book, it's available everywhere, right?
Yes, but most bookstores don't carry lots of memoir unless it's celebrity memoir.
Hmm.
But your bookstores can order it.
Yes.
Now, some people don't like Amazon. I could send you to Amazon and say, type in Maya Blue and
Hmm.
Brenda Coffee. Or you can go to my author website, which is brenda-coffee.com. And I've listed on there lots of places you can buy it, including my Simon and Schuster.
Okay. Yeah, I always like to tell people if you go to your local bookstore, they can order it for you.
If it's an independent bookstore, just tell them you want to order Maya Blue by Brenda Coffee, and they'll order it for you.
Yeah.
And it's also the audiobook is starting to populate. It's
Oh,
I haven't checked this morning, but last night, so this morning or last night it wasn't on Amazon, but it was on Apple. And so
oh,
I downloaded it last night. I have not heard myself reading it.
okay.
And I stayed up until way too late listening to myself narrate.
What'd you think?
It's an out of body experience, Kim.
Oh my gosh. That would
It,
be kind of strange.
it is. It is.
Yeah, could hear yourself telling your story, basically. That's interesting. Huh. Very cool. Well, gosh, Brenda, there's just so much here that we could talk about, like I said before, but we do have to say goodbye at some point. Is there any last little piece of advice or message you want to leave with the listeners?
Just that you're stronger than you think you are. I've had breast cancer, 10 breast cancer surgeries, and 8 rounds of chemo, and that soon to be 21 years ago. And thank you, God, I'm still here. Seize your power in your voice and never let go of your voice. I think that is the strongest power we have to express ourselves, to say no, to defend ourselves, and use your voice and just know that you can survive anything.
Love it. Brenda, thank you so much for sharing your courage with us today and your story. And I wish you good luck with the book and whatever your future endeavors happen to be.
Thank you. I'm grateful that you asked me on. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Okay. You too.
You've been listening to the Midlife with Courage podcast. If you liked what you heard, I would love it if you would leave a review. Or even better, send a link of this episode to a friend. Until next time, take care of your beautiful self.